I like to do things. I like to do things that make the world a more interesting place because over the years, I have discovered boredom is boring. Another thing I've discovered, having fun is fun. Am I blowing your mind yet? Maybe I'll skip through the rest of my discoveries. To introduce you to the feel of this talk, I want to start with a short video. I thought it would be fun to buy a bunch of random birthday supplies and go throw a spontaneous birthday party for a stranger, regardless of whether it was their birthday or not. Sorry in advance for the quality of this. This was filmed on a potato.
Now we want to come from behind in his face.
This is our man right there, unsuspecting. You can see us, armed and ready, strategically fanning out around our target on the signal. Best part is strangers joined in. And then we just ran away. I'm gonna freeze it on his face here. Yeah, I want you to see this. This look of bewilderment, but also can't help but smile, is one of my favorite expressions to see. Now, some people might look at this and think, wow, that's kind of dumb, or why would you do this? Today, I'm going to explain what I'm thinking when I do this sort of thing and why it's worth it. Today, I'm going to talk about the value of novelty. Another thing I like to do to create this sort of expression is I take this thing, a piece of paper, and I just write free coupon on it. Nothing else. And I'll go downtown to where like the canvassers are and just stand out being like, free coupon, and people will automatically take it. And the best part is when they take it, and they keep walking, of course, and then they just slow. It's good for one free confused expression. Here, this is for you. You can redeem it with a friend later. So in my head, I think of these activities as creating novelty. It's when you take someone's life and you introduce something new, something unexpected, and the brain has to stop for a moment and engage to process the new experience. Really quick, I want to talk about the word novelty. To a lot of people, this might have a negative connotation. They associate it with like a one-hit wonder or bacon-themed paraphernalia. But I think one of the reasons for the negative association sometimes is because people think novelty is just a superficial feature, that it doesn't have any deep meaning. But I would argue that things don't need to seem meaningful to have a meaningful impact. In fact, there are lots of good impacts having more novelty in your life can provide, including boosting morale, reducing burnout, extending life, and my personal favorite, building community. First, boosting morale. This one is probably the most intuitive. If you go out and you create a novel experience for someone, first off, you're putting yourself out there in a unique way, which helps build confidence. For the person experiencing the novel activity, well, that's enjoyable, which is great. Reducing burnout. Now, I want to tell you a story. It's one of my favorites. You may have heard it before. In 2016, someone in a random office building in New York City wrote the word hi with sticky notes on their office window. And it didn't take long before the building across the street responded with a sup. And it wasn't long after that before it escalated into all-out artistic warfare. One company was actually able to put a stop to the whole thing with an epic mic drop. Now, this is really fun to see, but also imagine what it must have felt like working in these offices. Having something interesting besides desk work going on guarantees a reason that employees will feel interested in coming to work, talking to their coworkers. When I worked in the glamorous food service industry, I know that one of the reasons that I enjoyed coming to work was not, in fact, the opportunity to make delicious bagel sandwiches, but the silly games I would play with my coworkers to pass the time. Extending life. So, as people get older, they tend to report that the years start passing faster. And there are multiple factors that cause this, but one of them is the fact that as you get older, you experience fewer new things. Studies by psychologists have suggested that the brain gauges the passage of time by how many new experiences it has to process. Now, when you're a kid, childhood feels like it's going to last forever. That's because everything is novel. You're always having new experiences. Similarly, when you go traveling, the days when you're traveling and seeing new things, going new places, always feel longer than days you spend at home. We can see that novelty, novel experiences, help life feel longer. You can think of it like putting more life into your years, as they say. There's a lot of creativity available when you're thinking of novel activities. Some of them are trivial and easy, like the free coupon. Some of them are more elaborate. I'm going to take a minute to talk about this thing I created called a rainwork. A rainwork is a piece of street art that is invisible when dry, but appears on rainy days. The way it works is you take a stencil of the design you want to make, you put it on the concrete, and you spray over it with a special super hydrophobic coating. That keeps the concrete dry, repelling water. The next time the surface gets wet, concrete naturally gets darker, but everywhere we sprayed stays light, and the contrast creates your image. We started doing this. I came up with this idea a few years ago, and with the help of some friends, we started decorating the streets of Seattle with rainworks. Thanks to a little thing called the internet and virality, I now do this full time. Now, we always try to think of things that would improve someone's rainy day, so funny messages like today's weather, rain. Games like the ground is now lava, motivational sayings, and just aesthetically pleasing designs. Thanks. Now, there are a lot of motivations. Our mission is to turn rainy days from something mad, dreary, into something to look forward to. And I could go on and on about the motivations behind this project, but in the grand scheme of things, like this is just another novel thing that can make people's days better. There are plenty of things that are simpler to do that you can achieve similar effects, so let's go through some of them now. Googly eyes. You can't tell me there isn't something satisfying about finding something that looks like a mouth and putting googly eyes on it. It's just the best. Silly flyers. This is a flyer. It says, "Have you seen this flyer?" If you can't read it, all the little tabs say yes. This is great for campuses because it gets those double takes, and it's really gratifying to come by later where you put it up and just see like the tabs torn off. If you Google silly flyers later, you'll find ideas even better than this. It's just wonderful. This is a game called Ninja Tag. It's where you take a clothespin, you write Ninja Tag on it, and you try to sneak it on someone when they're not paying attention, like a family member or a coworker. When they take it off, they'll see that it says "You're it," and the game continues. This is one fresh off the internet. Loads of ideas on the internet. This is Bubbles, basically, and it's a great way to make friends in parks. Building community. Let's talk about the Seattle Freeze. Has anyone heard of the Seattle Freeze? For those who haven't, Seattle Freeze is the experience many people have when they try to make friends in this city. It's hard to talk to strangers here. People are polite, but they tend to stay in their own bubble, and it's hard to strike up a conversation. The Seattle Freeze has frustrated me because I really like people. I think people are interesting humans with cool stories and perspectives. But I always feel that obstacle of anxiety when I think about approaching someone. And I've tried to think of ways to circumvent that, to socially engineer situations where I can make it easy to connect with strangers and get strangers to connect with each other. But before I go into how, why? Why do I want strangers to connect with each other? My reasoning is like this. Communities and cities are more pleasant to live in when you feel like you can trust the people around you. When you feel like you could ask someone for help or start a conversation and they wouldn't automatically assume something about you. Or if someone comes up to talking to you, you don't automatically assume they want to get something from you. Unfortunately, you see this around the city. Like, if if people are going out into the city, a lot of the experiences they have are sometimes unpleasant. There's a lot of strangers who want things from them, whether it's money, political support, or an argument. I want to balance out these negative interactions with positive ones, tipping the scale back. But how do you create an organic situation where strangers feel comfortable talking to each other? Novelty. I have realized that one of the most reliable ways to get strangers to talk to each other is by giving them what I call a shared novel experience. Imagine this. You're at a bus stop. There's a few people around like usual, but everyone's in their own bubble. Suddenly, someone shows up with a horse head on and then dances wildly for 30 seconds and then runs away. You can be pretty sure that after they run away, you and the people around you are going to have a bewildered, slightly amused look on their face and be looking around unintentionally to see if anyone else just felt the same way. Now, when you lock eyes with someone who's feeling the same emotion as you, there's instantly a connection you can feel. In that moment, you understand each other. And that makes that anxiety bar, drop way down. If or when a conversation starts, you now have something to talk about. And voila, you've created a positive connection with a stranger. I believe moments like these can make the world a better place. It's why I started Rainworks. It's why I go make it people's birthdays, even if it's not. My goal is to get strangers to share those moments together, to give them excuses to start conversations, providing those positive social interactions that serve as a friendly reminder that most people are decent human beings who are not scary to talk to, and the world is mostly a good and friendly place. Now, am I suggesting that we all get up, put on horse head masks, and go dance at bus stops to get people to talk to each other? Not necessarily. I already got that one covered. But I am suggesting that we take time to think about how we can make the world we live in a more interesting, more novel place. Whether it's little games at work or interactive street art, these types of experiences enrich our lives and strengthen our communities. Plus, it's just flat out fun. Thank you.